Hey everyone, Blake here with Outcast Gaming. I am here today, joined by my man Robert. We are going to talk through an aggro cell build that has been his one true love lately. It's been his piece de resistance that he has been punishing us with. And as the title says, it's going to feature the DBS Holy Trinity: free plays, crit swings, and Zeno. Robert, say what's up.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Um, yes, I love Cell Surge. Have been playing Cell Surge for a long time, and normally the Dirtle version, where I try to get to round turn 5 and Zeno take your hand and quad strike your face off. That being said, I was super intrigued when I saw Eggman's aggro profile, and I tried to make it my own. I think it's got a lot of potential, a lot of combos, super fun, free plays, crit swings, and Zeno.
All right, so like we said, we're going to talk through what the deck looks like and how to play it. So turn one, Robert. Let's talk about your mulligan. Let's talk about what you're trying to accomplish on turn one, because obviously, in any deck that's trying to potentially unlock the magic that is a turn three Zeno successor, you kind of have to start turn one and have a relatively specific mulligan. But what does it look like? Walk us through turn one in your mulligan.
So there are a couple things that you want to have immediately to get kind of the game started off right. Whether you're going first or second, you really want a mulligan for two key cards at the very least. One will be Demigra, the Unison, super strong card. You can play it on your first turn. You can level it up to 2, which is critical so that you can get the Frieza counterplay online. Not only that, it's going to be a self awakener. A lot of folks who might not know what you're doing will try to swing at Demigra because he's only 5k, easy to take away one of your life. That's actually really good for you because awakening early in this deck unlocks a lot of free play potential for you earlier in the game. The other card that I try to mulligan hard for is the 9-drop Cell Parasitic Menace.
Dark
The
Parasite.
Dark Parasite, my bad. I call him the new Cell Zeno. Critical because he gives you the hand advantage that's usually missing from aggro decks. And so I always want to have him in my hand so that when I top 5 with Surge Cell's ability on the unawakened side, that I can immediately drop him and then draw from the deck one, and then take a life into your hand. And so he too helps you self awaken, which is crucial to get your surge ability online, turn 2 or turn 3. So an ideal turn 1 would look like I draw, I charge a green energy. 99% of this deck is green energy only. The one exception comes up later when we talk about successor. And then I want to do top 3, top 5 with my leader ability so that I can get that additional card draw into my hand. So I'll search the top 5, usually for a free play, whether it's the Frieza counterplay or surprise attack Frieza, Son Goku Power of Legends, whatever I'm missing in my starting hand, other than the 2 cards that I do hard mulligan for that we just talked about. And then I'll pitch the new Zeno, the 9-drop, in order to get the additional card draw. And then I'll play the Demigra, and then I'll level up the Demigra. If I'm going second, I'll then swing with both my lead and Demigra, try to get some early aggression. If I go first, I would just pass turn, and that's kind of the ideal starting turn 1.
Yeah, it's nice because if you go second and you get a swing, I think people don't expect, like, the first time we saw this as a team, I wasn't expecting as much aggression on turn 2 and 3. So I did what you normally do in a game, which is take those first couple swings, get a little bit of hand advantage, or think I was getting hand advantage. And what I was really doing was setting you up for a massive aggro, miserable experience for me on turn 2. Because once we get to turn 2, we move on to the combos and the free plays in the deck. And the deck has a lot of times aggro decks have a very specific combo they're searching for. And I think what makes this deck unique is there are a ton of combos and a ton of free plays, an absolute ton. And you pull a lot of them off in those first couple of turns, which is what gives the deck so much aggression. I think, like you said, one of the big keys is the Demigra, mainly because he gets to 2 markers, he turns on that charismatic villain, and then walk us through what does that charismatic villain turn on for this deck?
So the charismatic villain turns on the first free play, which is surprise attack Frieza. So charismatic villain gets to KO a card on board, and then when you KO a card, surprise attack Frieza, which is a 4-drop green, which is important for successor, comes into play for free. Now, ideally, this happens on your opponent's first turn following your initial turn. So whether it's their turn two or their turn one, if they are also playing an aggro deck or a self awakener, I like to think of intensifying power trunks, fearless assault Krillin, the newfound power Gohan. A lot of people like to play those for one energy on their first turn, help them self awaken, and also just to crit you. Surprise attack Frieza being able to be played on that first return round because your Demigod got up to 2 tokens on that initial turn, it feels so good because there's not a lot that they can do against it. They wasted their energy, they lost their battle card, and then, oh, I got a free 10k body on, which at this point, usually no one's awakened. And I got a 15k body with crit, which is, step one and two because it's a free play and it's a critical strike of the Holy Trinity. And super powerful, especially if you can pull it off on their turn. This is normally when your opponent just groans and ask themselves, "What have they done?" And they messed up because you're about to eat their lunch. The other great play that Frieza turns on, and I think a lot of people have seen this, although it seems that Pretty Black Hole is coming back down in price, but it did spike up for a little while because it is great with charismatic Frieza. The ability to negate attack and wipe most of the board, the card that you got for free, that's a 5 cost, is really, really powerful. If they are trying to spam the board even more aggressively than you are, I could think of, the new Kid Kus and the 1-drops that they're running where they can pull 2 1-drops from their deck. This would be an easy way to kind of wipe the board and also maintain your hand because if you do pop charismatic Frieza and choose up to 5 energy and KO them, you're able to draw a card. Also, if you didn't have a surprise attack Frieza when you first played charismatic Frieza, if you do pretty back hole later in the turn because you are KOing your opponent's cards by sacrificing the charismatic Frieza, you're able to get surprise attack Frieza out if you do have it in your hand there. So just a lot of potential synergies between charismatic Frieza and the pretty black hole. Once you get out your surprise attack Frieza, there's more free plays that you can do depending on if you're what you have in your hand. And this is why the 9-drop new cell is so important with the hand advantage because you can get more cards for more free plays, and also why Surge Cell's ability on the front side, where you get to search the top 5 cards um, and bring one into hand, is so important because if you do have a one star parasitic ball, you're able to search your deck for the 4-drop Frieza Zeno, which is 15,000 double strike, and play that for free. And so, and when you do that, you're opening up another surprise attack Frieza because you can only play it for free if you don't have one on the board. So, kind of putting the Dark Frieza on top via the Dark Parasitic Dragon Ball, you open it up for another free play. And so Surprise Attack Frieza is, I would say probably if you want to call, the engine of the aggression, because it's critical, because you can get it out fairly easily. You have a lot of cards that KO other cards, and you can get them out more, and you can successor them, do all kinds of fun things with Surprise Attack Frieza. It's really a lot of fun.
Well, you get 2 surprise attack Friezas effectively can come out in or theoretically can come out in a turn because, like you said, you can use that parasitic darkness ball to go get the other Frieza and then open the door for the second one, which means 1 surprise attack Frieza turns into another Frieza, and then you have the chance for a second surprise attack, which now gives you 8 of your 12. So then we move on to the next section of free plays, which comes from your super combo of choice, and that's your Dr. Gero Progenitor of Terror, which sets up an arrival play, which sets up a free play, and then also gives you the opportunity to put some stuff in the drop that you need for later game.
It's great because you're able to a super combo, but more importantly, um, do two things. One is arrival power couple. And I chose power couple over the 4-drop Ribrianne because while the 4-drop Ribrianne pops a battle card, there are other cards in my deck that help me pop, and I wasn't really having issues popping other cards and getting my surprise attack freeze on the board. But I'm able to arrive power couple, and then I choose the option where the opponent gets to choose a card to discard from their hand. And when your opponent discards a card from their hand, that's where you can get Son Goku Power of Legends onto the board, and he's a 15k critical striker, just like Surprise Attack Frieza. And so it can get really nasty for your opponent when they're looking down the pike. Uh, Two 15k crit strikers that came on the board. And usually, when that happens, you could at this point have Power Couple, which is a 20,000 body, and then also Charismatic Villain Frieza, which is a 10k body, your Demigra, your lead, Surprise Attack Frieza, and Son Goku Power of Legends. And so at this point, usually they have nothing on the board, and it's fairly intimidating. So Dr. Jiro helps facilitate the arrival. And then also you can dig for something from your drop that's 4 or less. In this particular case, usually I dig for the draw ape just in case I'm not getting the combo pieces that I'm looking for. Sometimes it's okay on turn 2 to spend 2 energy to draw 2 cards. The other card that you could dig for if you already have an ape in your drop or for whatever reason is the Valiant Breakthrough Son Goku. And this enables the successor of the Sun Gohan, Wounded Victor, which we'll talk about when we talk about successor options, because you can combo this card with that and ready him again to get that extra attack. So you do want him in your drop if you do plan on successoring kind of Wounded Victor. So Dr. Jiro primarily for the arrival and to ensure that you get an ape in your drop. But if you have one ape in your drop, you may go for the Valiant Breakthrough Son Goku just to set up the successor if necessary.
Yeah, because you're looking at two potential big finishers that we'll talk about. You're looking at that Wounded Victor or obviously Zeno. So you need Valiant Breakthrough to make that Wounded Victor extra gross. So I think a lot of that obviously depends on what's in your hand too. If you drew into the Wounded Victor and not the Zeno yet, then you might go hunt that Valiant Breakthrough to set that up. Whereas with the Zeno, if you've got it and you don't have the Wounded Victor, you go get that 8 and just make sure you're ready to go. And then the last set of combos and free plays comes off of some cards that we see in a lot of green decks and take advantage of number one, your wide board state, and also your kind of doing that typical green thing, which is pairing aggression with a little bit of hand destruction. It's not really hand destruction, but more hand control. We're just trying to keep the hand limited. And cells Kamehameha is one of those mega feel bads because you're like, hey, here's plus 15k and you get to drop a card, but guess what? I choose. And in this game, which has mostly chosen discard, that cells random is extra special because getting to choose it just opens the door for taking that one card in your opponent's hand that maybe they have that one negate that they think they can stave you off with, and you just drop it. You just hit the jackpot and you take their soul and set them up for a finish.
Absolutely. And to your point, I think it is more about hand control, not necessarily hand destruction. It's just a nice benefit to be able to keep your opponent's hand size smaller, especially as your hand size won't be gigantic because, again, you're playing a ton of free plays and your board should be fairly large. But you're also drawing a ton of cards between the 9-drop cell uh, and the potential for the draw apes. And so um, keeping keeping their hand size smaller and not allowing them to combo out of whether your crit strikes or your double strikes, it absolutely helps. It's not the main goal, but it's definitely a great side effect. And so that's just another way to get out Son Goku Power of Legends. But also, we talked about we have a lot of different ways to KO opponents' battle cards. We just got a few more here. Belmod, Blake, I have to give you a shout out for adding this to my deck. It's you pop 3 of your battle cards in order to do it. but when he comes into play, he KOs a battle card, and you could potentially get a surprise attack Frieza on the board if you have him in hand, and get two strikes kind of for that cost of popping three battle cards. Also, Son Goku Power of Legends is unique, so if you had the right kind of combination of cards in your hand, you may want to pop the Son Goku and be able to whether arrive a power couple and get out another free play. There could be reasons and benefits for that too.
Well, and Son Goku Power of Legend also falls in that category of a card that can kind of be discarded once it's used for you because it's not green. It's one of the few targets or one of the few things that isn't a target for a successor. So if you can use it to trigger Belmod to come into play, it's a free sacrifice that doesn't really hurt your board state in your end game, which is trying to get to that successor.
Absolutely. He's always the first target if I have a target for Belmod just to get off the board. Because to your point, he doesn't help me successor. Even if he was green, he's a three cost, which doesn't necessarily work with my four cost magic. So I never feel bad at all popping Son Goku Power of Legends for Belmod. Also, he has zero combo power. So there's really, other than the crit strike 15k and he's free, which is a lot. After he does his business, I'm okay with parting ways with him.
Yeah, he's such a good card, but they did balance it well, I think, because they put him as a free play, which is always strong, but they put him in black, so he can't be used for a lot of the skills of other cards. And then on top of that, that 0/0 combo power is it always feels a little bad when you have him on board, but it's completely fair because of what it does. And then since you pop him, you get Belmont out. Belmont, Surprise Attack Frieza, Dark Infestation, and Power Couple are all four costs. And then the last potential piece for a four cost option to get to that turn three successor as a potential finisher is the one and only Great Ape Bardock, right?
Absolutely. I One of my favorite cards that was kind of reprinted in the anniversary box, and the reason I bought so many boxes was to get my hands on a playset of, Bardock apes. And again, this is just super powerful. You're able to combo him for two and you get the combo power, then he comes into play. When he comes into play, you get to draw another card, which is grows. You get to rest one of the opponent's battle cards. So I think a sneaky play with Bardock honestly is using him on your defensive turn so that you can combo out. You could rest one of their battle cards, so if they swung lead at you early in the game, you're able to combo out of that strike and then rest potentially one of their only one or two battle cards, and then you also draw a card.
Yeah, because they don't have I mean, that's the thing about playing into this deck is you don't have a tremendous amount of battle cards unless you're playing a lot of barrier battle cards because there are so many ways to KO battle cards in this deck. And the struggle is you're not typically playing a lot of barrier battle cards on turn 1 or 2. Usually you're playing little single strikes or double strikes or crit strike guys that are your one cost self awakeners, or you're playing something that's setting up a later game turn for you, not realizing that the ultimate goal of your turn three is maybe on defense, get that Bardock in, you blow something up with Belmod, you discard a card, you curl and power a couple, and next thing you know, there's 3/4 costs that are green and yellow on board, and sadness is about to reign supreme because I have two energy that I spent trying to forward my game plan, and I didn't do the math very well and realized that you're about to drop Cell Zeno on me after swinging with everything. That's the most painful part. Is I probably am pretty low on life already because you've been pretty aggressive. So I'm just trying to stay alive, and then my brain somehow doesn't comprehend the fact that wait a minute, he can just drop Cell Zeno whenever 12 exists. It doesn't have to be on turn 5.
Yep, that was the biggest thing that I had to change my mind on because again, being used to the cell surge and using the traditional successor engine, my goal was really to durdle, buy time. Usually I would awaken turn three and then use my surge ability to have your battle cards come into play rested for turns four, or the end of three, the end of four, and then be ready to Zeno on turn five and kind of get the dual attack and the drop three cards from your hand. And that works. It really does. But being able to successor Zeno kind of on turn three after I've swung with several double strikes, several crit attacks, several 15, 20k bodies, usually the last thing they're thinking about is saving that negate for the potential that I have Zeno. But one thing, if you play Cell Surge a good amount, is that between the extra card draw that I'm drawing from the 9-drop cell and the ape, and being able to search top five, because in this aggro deck, you're going to search top five probably every turn through turn three, and then you'll awaken on turn three, get that extra energy, get that extra card draw. There's a good chance that you're going to see Zeno. You're probably going through at least half, if not more, of your deck. I would say that if I played traditional Cell Surge, Blake, correct me if I'm wrong. I would usually get Zeno 90% of the games by turn five if I was really lucky. So again, I have two less turns to kind of draw those additional cards, but it's still pretty good chances. I've definitely pulled it off more than one time. Sometimes I pull Zeno early and I actually shuffle them back into the deck with the top five because I'm trying to get my double strikers out and my crit strikers out. But there's a good chance, I would say maybe 50%, maybe a little lower, to get Zeno on this turn three to pull it off. And I don't think all the opponents are thinking about it. They could be in a rut like me where it's like, oh, you can't play Zeno until turn five. It's like, no, I could play it whenever I want, and I could play him for free. He just doesn't get the dual attack, and I don't get to drop cards from your hand. But he's still a quadruple strike 40k body, and very gross after coming in on the sixth or the seventh swing of the turn.
Well, and I think the thing that we also realized, the more this deck has been played and run through the meat grinder, one of the challenges is you get so many four cost bodies online that you feel like the only counter strike to it is clearing your board in return. If I can keep your board clear, then I get rid of Zeno. The problem is if you've got 4 or 5 cards on board, I have to clear you down to 2 to get Zeno, and that's where I think that secondary option for a really good, really strong finisher in Wounded Victor kind of came through because on your turn 2 or on your turn 3, you're able to get that energy back up to have all 3 energy standing since you do stand 2 when you awaken and have access to Wounded Victor with only 2 4 costs on board. So having that 8 on board makes it crazy because typically you think if you can clear someone down to 2 battle cards and just negate a swing, you can survive. The problem is you're going to take both of those swings and then Wounded Victor is going to come out and he's going to wreck your face instead of Zeno.
Yep, and Wounded Victor is a really fun card. Took me a little while to figure it out because I don't read good, hence the name illiterate. But long story short, he is the only card in the deck that you need a yellow to play, and his successors one green, one yellow, one any color. But when he comes on the board, he is a 30k triple striker, and his auto is that when you swing with him once per turn, you can combo with that Goku that we mentioned earlier that you may dig for with your Dr. Jiro, and it'll give him kind of the 5k combo power, but it'll also restand him once per turn. And so, in essence, Wounded Victor is a 35k triple strike the first swing, and then you stand him, and then he's a 30k triple strike the second swing. So he does get 2 swings, 2 triple strikes. And again, if you're trying to control my board, I only really need 2 battle cards on board in order to successor him. And it can be absolutely devastating for the price because it's cheap, it's easily accessible on turn 3, especially with the Awaken. A key turn 3 turn may look like I have all these things on the board. I'm going to swing with my Demigarages, for example. I'm going to combo with a Bardock 8, get them on board. I'm going to draw a card. I'm going to rest your battle card. And then I'm going to Awaken, stand my 2 energy, complete all my swings with my Bardock and whatever else I have on the board. And then, oh, I'm going to successor into Wounded Victor and eat your face. So you can just imagine that it feels super good.
Yeah. As the player of the deck, it feels good. As the opponent to the deck, it feels not quite as good. And that's where you get access to a bunch of things with Cell that I think forcing the long game can sometimes just feel okay, but in the short game can feel great because on your turn 2 or 3 awaken, typically you'd like it to be 3, 2 if it has to be. You've got a couple of options. So you get that Surge Cell ability to stall for time, or you got that second ability which allows more of what you're trying to accomplish in the goal is your free play, right?
Yep. And again, being a traditional Cell Engine, Cell Surge player, I loved the first option where for your opponent's turn, any card that they play until your next turn comes into play in rest mode. just a great way to stall for time. Used it a bunch against blue Obuni players and everything coming into play rested. Great card. Well, usually in turn three, um, I don't want the game to go on any longer. So the second ability is really shines with the aggro matchup, and you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it, and then you get to choose a card out of their hand, and they place it in their drop. And I think the picture that you see on screen of just getting slapped in the face is really what that feels like. Because in an ideal world as the aggro player, this will set up both my surprise attack Frieza and my Goku Power of Legends. So not only do I get to pop one of your battle cards, I get to take a card from hand, and then I get two 15k crit strikers on board just for awakening. And oh yeah, I got to ready two energy and draw two cards as a part of that process. I mean, it's a mouthful just to say, but imagine it happening on the board. It'll definitely put you ahead of the game if you weren't already ahead.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, if you're playing an aggro deck in DBS, I think resource management, not only for yourself, but for your opponent, if you can manage their resources and the access they have to things, that's huge. If they have a battle card standing and you can pop it so that they don't have the combo power, you take a card from their hand. It allows you to be in a place where you continue to chip away at their resources. You throw a couple 15k crits on board, and now you have an opportunity to swing and force them to make that choice of you either lose that life for nothing or you have to combo out so you don't lose the life. Either way, you continue to gain hand advantage before you drop something really gross and really scary on turn three, which, especially if you go first, you put them in a real big disadvantage. They're in a real hole where they just don't have access to enough tools, it feels like, to really win the game at that point. And that's aggro in a nutshell. On turn one, I feel great. On turn two, I feel great. On turn three, I feel really good about my chances to win. On turn four, you start to turn that corner where that mid range deck starts to catch up a little bit, and their resource management and their resource curve starts to catch up to your own because you're spending a lot more resources than they are. So your ability to free play stuff and get things going on turn three is such a strong pivot moment for the deck to try and get to that win con of successoring something big and scary that can really finish them off.
Absolutely. And to your point, I do think turn four is probably your last chance to win. The real force behind that is once you awaken, you lose the ability to search your deck with the top five on unawakened side of Cell. And so your draw and your search mechanic is really kind of shut down from that. And also your hand is just not that big because of so many free plays that you're trying to get on the board. And you'll see a lot of these combos, if you're rivaling the power couple, that takes two cards. If you use surprise attack Frieza and then the ball and then the Frieza Zeno that you might be playing from hand, ideally from the deck, but that could take two to three cards as well. We're playing a ton of cards from hand, which is good. It builds the board state, but we're not going to have a sustained card advantage against our opponent, and we're going to run out of gas really after turn four as your opponent's starting to ramp. So this is definitely a fast deck. You do want to go pedal to the metal, lead foot, whatever you want to call it. You want to get all your stuff on the board, and you want to swing and swing and swing until they cry uncle.
Yeah, I think obviously you make it pretty clear that you're playing a fast game. You're going for aggro and you're trying to win on the aggro by the fact that you run four negates. I mean, anytime you have a deck where you run four negates, and to your point, oftentimes if you think you can win by turn four, you're probably just charging them. You're not even going to bother holding them because in hand you're going to spend most of your energy. So in hand they basically don't do anything for you. You just want access to as many cards as possible to be aggressive and to try and get on top of your opponent as fast as possible and gain more and more advantage. So the negates are really just there for kind of an emergency situation. You're playing most of your defense with Frieza Charismatic Villain on those early turns, which is why getting Demigra early is such an important part of the deck.
Absolutely. And the negates, they all have the ability to kind of KO battle cards, right? And so, it is oh my God, I didn't pull my Demigra. my Frieza's offline, but hey, you swung at me with again a one cost double striker self awakener or one cost critical self awakener. Oh, shocking death ball is really tasty right now because I can negate the attack, pop your card, and then get out my surprise attack Frieza. So yes, even the negates are really to help facilitate free plays, and potentially, there are decks that could be slightly faster. Reboot Gohan's really, really fast, where having a negate early in the game might be helpful. But yeah, to your point, it's not. I'm not going to be mulliganing for negates. It's just another way to facilitate my free plays.
Yeah, I think that's the whole thing is like we said, the deck is really about the Holy Trinity. We want free plays, we want crit swings, and ultimately you want to end with Zeno and just leave your opponent sitting in a puddle of sadness because that's what the deck's all about. So thank you everybody for joining us today. Robert, thanks for sharing your deck with us. Hopefully you guys can put this bad boy together and make some people sad with it. We'll include the deck list down in the description. And we'd love it if you like the deck profile. If you like what we're doing, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and follow and hang around with us. Thanks so much, guys.
Have a great one. Xeno's the best.